Hola, everybody, and welcome to another session of Learn Spanish with Faraz. In today's class, we'll be dealing with Spanish professions. Now, most of the professions in Spanish language, they have a feminine form as well. In English, we do not have that. A male engineer is an engineer, a female engineer is an engineer as well. A male lawyer is a lawyer, a female lawyer is called a lawyer as well. Very few of the professions in English have a feminine form. For example, you have host, hostess, then you have waiter and a waitress. So very few of the professions in English language have a feminine form. In Spanish language, most of the professions have a separate feminine form as well. So you need to keep that in mind while using Spanish professions. So first of all, let's start with the professions that end in O. Now, O ending professions are mostly masculine. Mostly. Most of the time it is going to be masculine. 99% of the time. So if any profession that ends in O, that means it's a masculine profession. That means you're using it to address a person that is a male. For example, you have abogado, which is a lawyer. Then you have ingeniero, which is an engineer. Then you have camarero, which is a waiter. You have cocinero, which is a chef. You have banquero, which is a banker. Now, most of the professions that end in O, they have a feminine form as well. So in order to make the feminine form of the profession, you just replace this O with A. As simple as that. Ingeniero, the feminine form will be ingeniera. Camarero, the feminine form will be camarera. Cocinero, the feminine form will be cocinera. Pretty simple. So if I want to say he is an engineer, in that case it will be él es ingeniero. But if it was a she, in that case it would become ella es ingeniera. Pretty simple, right? If I wanted to say Juan is a lawyer, Juan es abogado. But if I wanted to say Ana is a lawyer, now Ana is a she, in that case it would become Ana es abogada, right? If I wanted to say he is a waiter, él es camarero. If I wanted to say she's a waitress, ella es camarera. Pretty simple, guys. Remember, there are some exceptions as well. For example, there is this profession model. So it is same for both masculine and feminine. So it doesn't change. It doesn't become modela. So don't do that. Modelo is gender neutral. So if it is a male model, it is el modelo. And if it is a female model, then it is la modelo. There are only two or three professions like that that you don't need to worry about right now. 99% of the professions that end in O are masculine and they always have a feminine form as well. There are two or three exceptions like modelo. Now, if I already told you in our previous classes regarding nouns that whenever a noun ends in a vowel, to make its plural, you just add s. So, if a noun ends in a vowel, to make its plural, you just add s. So, for example, abogado, plural will be abogados. Abogada, plural will be abogadas. So, most of the professions that end in O, they have four forms. You have masculine singular, you have feminine singular, then you have masculine plural, and then you have feminine plural. So here you have four forms: abogado, abogada, abogados, abogadas. If I wanted to say he is a lawyer, in that case, él es abogado. But if I wanted to say they are lawyers, now you have a plural profession. In that case, it would be ellos son abogados. Now, what if all the lawyers were females? In that case, it would become ellas son abogadas. So you really have to be careful with the gender here because for most of the English speakers, that can be confusing because in English, you don't have any genders. Doesn't matter what your subject is, you're always going to use the same profession. He's a doctor, she's a doctor. They are doctors, we are doctors. Ana and Maria are doctors, Juan and Pedro are doctors. Right? Now, in that case, if I wanted to say Ana is a lawyer, Ana is abogada. If I wanted to say Ana and Maria are lawyers, Ana y Maria son. Why did I put the accent for right? Anyway, abogadas. Ana y Maria son abogadas. Now, if I wanted to say we are lawyers, in that case, it would be nosotros somos abogados. But if all the lawyers were feminine, then in that case, nosotras somos abogadas. Remember, you can omit the subject if you want to. You can just say somos abogados, somos abogadas. That is completely fine. Now, so we know so far that most of the professions that end in O, they have four forms. So they have four endings, O, A, Os, As, right? We have abogado, abogada, abogados, abogadas, right? Camarero, camarera, camareros, camareras. Now you have another category of professions that end in E. Now, E ending professions are gender neutral. That means they are unisex. That means they're same for both masculine and feminine subject. Doesn't matter whether you're talking about male or female, they will be same for both. For example, you have cantante, which is a singer. Now come estudiante, which is a student. Right now, these are the professions that are ending in E. Now remember this, the professions that end in E are gender neutral. So they don't change. A female singer will be a cantante, a male singer will be a cantante as well. A male student will be student, a female student will be a student as well. Okay, don't make it into cantanta. That would be completely wrong. So if I wanted to say he is a singer, él es cantante, she's a singer, ella es cantante. Now some of my students, they make a mistake here and they write cantanta. It is completely wrong. Remember, E ending professions are gender neutral. They don't change. If I wanted to say Juan is a student, Juan es estudiante. If I wanted to say Ana is a student, Ana es estudiante. So remember this, the professions that end in E are gender neutral. They don't change. If I wanted to say we are students, nosotros somos estudiantes. And if all the students were girls, then they would address themselves as nosotras. In that case, it would be nosotras somos estudiantes. And this wouldn't change. Remember this. The professions that end in O, they have four forms. O, A, OSAS, four endings. Professions that end in E, only two endings, A and S. That's it. So no separate feminine form. It's same for both masculine and feminine subjects. Now, there is another category, which is OR ending category. Now, OR ending category also has four forms. So most of the professions that end in OR are masculine. You have profesor, you have jugador, you have escritor. Right? Profesor is a teacher, jugador is a player, escritor is a writer, contador, which is an accountant. Anyway, so professions that end in O are masculine. and they have a feminine form as well. You just add a. So the feminine form, the ending would be ora. Profesor, profesora. Jugador, jugadora. Escritor, escritor. So if I wanted to say Juan is a teacher, Juan is profesor. If I wanted to say Ana is a teacher, Ana es profesora. If I wanted to say Ana and Maria are teachers, Ana y Maria son profesoras. So again, you have four endings here: or, ora, ores, horas. Profesor, profesora, profesores, profesoras. Escritor, escritora, escritores, escritoras. If I wanted to say we are writers, nosotros somos. You can just omit nosotros. You can just say somos escritores. Nosotros somos escritores. Or you can just say somos escritores. If we were talking about a group of girls, in that case it would be somos escritoras. Pretty simple. So far we have dealt with O-ending professions, where you have four endings, O-R, O-S. E-ending professions, which are gender neutral, only two endings, and O-ending professions, again four endings, Aurora, Ores, Horas. Now there is final category, which is ISTA. Now all these ending professions are gender neutral. That means they're unisex. Again, no separate feminine form. Some of the examples are pianista, so pianist, dentista, a dentist, periodista, which is a journalist, and electricista, which is an electrician. So all the professions that in ista, they're gender neutral. No separate feminine form, right? Él es dentista, ella es dentista. Please don't write L as dentisto. That sounds pretty stupid. That might sound cute to some native speakers, but don't make this mistake. Remember, if it is ending in ista, that means it is gender neutral. If I wanted to say, my father is a dentist, mi padre es dentista. My mother is a dentist, mi madre es dentista. We are dentists, somos dentistas. So it is gender neutral. So remember this. The professions that end in O, there are four endings, O, are OSAs. Obviously, there are a few exceptions like modelo. It doesn't have a feminine form, modela, but there are very few, only two or three. Most of the professions that end in O, they have four forms. Then you have professions that end in E, gender neutral, only two forms, singular and plural. Same form for both masculine and feminine. A is. Then you have ista ending ones, only two forms, ista, istas, singular, plural. And then you have OR ending ones, four forms, or, ora, ores, horas. Now for your practice, I'm going to give you some translations and you have to translate those, and I'm going to give you the solution towards the end of this video. Just go to the end of the video and you can find all the solutions. You can check all the mistakes that you make. That's how you learn a language. You need to practice, practice, and practice. So I'll be sharing with you a sheet now, and make sure that you do all those translations, and then I will also provide you with all the solutions in the end of this video. Just go to the end of the video to check your sentences.